Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Champion Circle. My name is Jon Kovach Jr. I'm the founder, creator, and CEO of Champion Circle, and I am super excited to be here tonight as we are going to be training on an incredible process and a powerful step in the creation of wealth, riches, and overcoming challenges for your mindset so that you can obtain the riches and the exciting things that you seek and desire. We created Champion Circle just for this reason, so that we could dive deeper into the education of Napoleon Hill through his book here, Think and Grow Rich, and also to surround ourselves with a community of people who care about working on themselves while simultaneously pouring into the methodology that if we serve others, we too can receive on the back end of benefits and the ROI of service to others. I have had this project, this vision, this dream for so long, and I just love that we can bring it to so many incredible entrepreneurs and business owners throughout the world. Before we get started tonight, I just want to share you're going to have the opportunity to hear from several members of the executive board and the Champion Circle team who will be touching on the topic of auto-suggestion, which was the third step to riches in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. He talked about this powerful concept called auto-suggestion, and you're going to get a deep dive throughout the four speakers that you'll hear from today, who will give you some incredible insight and some personal tactics, strategies, and information on how you too can use auto-suggestion to increase and improve, and in our world, accelerate the results in your life. Tonight's, you will be receiving some training from myself first, and followed by Ian Stermer, and then followed by William Blake, and then last you'll hear from Lauren Cobb. I would love to kick today's meeting off and just share with you a few thoughts. But before we get going, I just want to remind you that if you haven't joined Champion Circle, or if you haven't been to one of our sessions yet, please come. We have virtual roundtables every month, and you can actually get started with us for free for a limited time free trial. And then you'll be prompted to connect with one of our team members to join us and to become a member. Membership includes incredible accountability services and coaching, exceptional training and workshops, just like you're experiencing right here, but even greater. And then also you'll have unlimited access to your coach and so many other things that come from the power of networking with a focused group of people who all care about the same thing, the spirit of harmony, which is one of my favorite topics and methodologies and reasonings behind the mastermind. So as we get into it, I just want to invite you to check us out at www.mychampioncircle.com and find the nearest meeting, the virtual, to your ability to attend. And we can't wait to have you. All right. Without any further ado, again, my name is Jon Kovach Jr. I'm an international motivational speaker. I'm a top global mastermind leader, and I'm a best-selling author. I think I'm on like number 18 or something, but I'm not stopping there. And as a result of this incredible and abundant life that I've been living and experiencing, it all began with a few things that I like to call the power of desire, faith, and auto-suggestion, working hand in hand to create this wheel, this snowball, this unstoppable avalanche of success and growth and abundance in my life. I want to talk to you tonight about the positive subconscious mind training used on autopilot and the power of positive communications. Now, auto-suggestion, described in my favorite book of all time, Think and Grow Rich, it's described as the medium for influencing the subconscious mind. It truly is one powerful suggestion. In fact, if you think about it, auto-suggestion is what it describes. It is a self-suggestion. It's a suggestion. You are self-suggesting what is happening. And you can do this on repeat, on autopilot, to create incredibly accelerated success in your life. All suggestions and self-administered stimuli, this comes from the book, which reach one's mind through the five senses. And I'm actually going to add a sixth, but the five senses are touch, taste, smell, hearing, and seeing. And if you think I've lost one or forgot one, here's another one that you may not have considered. There's one called the sixth sense. Now, before we get into spooky ghouls and ghosts, the sixth sense is considered the third eye. It's part of our chakra. It's part of our soul. And what it is, it's the ability to sense without touch, without feeling. In fact, it could come from in here. It can come from your gut. It can come from your ability to trust. And we call it intuition. Intuitive people become leaders. Intuitive people can see through the clutter, and big picture thinkers can see incredible things. Really, they're not just visionaries, but they're people who see things for what they are. So I've got 3 powerful steps in turning success on autopilot through the power and step of auto-suggestion. Number 1, I want you to remember the power of what it takes to learn something. In fact, what we repeat becomes easier. Let me say that again. What we repeat becomes easier. Let me give you a few examples. I used to be the fastest 800-meter runner in the state of Colorado. Yes, 800 meters. It's a track and field event. You run 2 full laps around a track. And there's no breaks, there's no water breaks, there's no potty breaks. I said potty on a public workshop, guys. There is no stopping. It is a race. And not only is it a race, but it is a sprint. It's not a jog. It's not a pace. It's a sprint for 2 laps. They say the 800-meter or the half mile is one of the most difficult and challenging events in the track and field track events, because a 400, which is 1 lap around the track, is also an all-out sprint. But to maintain that for 2 laps is, well, let's just say it takes some really crazy, gutsy people. And I used to do that. But what you repeat becomes easier. And how you train for the hardest event in track and field is you do incremental practice. You step by step the process. And what I used to do is I used to break up the race into 200 meters. Yes, 200 plus 200 is half the race. 200 plus another 200 is the full race. So I would do 200-meter repeats every single day in practice to make sure that I mastered my timing, my techniques, and my physicality in how I ran this particular race. By running the 200-meter every single day on repeat at least 4 times, helped me envision, to remember, and recognize every step. I'm not kidding you. I could close my eyes and imagine every cadence, every step of my race, and I could do it in my sleep. You've heard people say that. There's evidence for you right there. You literally could do it over and over again in your sleep because of the amount of times you had to repeat. So what you repeat becomes easier. And I became one of the fastest runners in Colorado back in 2006 through 2008. And it was an incredible journey for me. And it really was as simple as repeating the same breakdowns of my race. And you, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a dreamer, as somebody who cares so much about their desires, you can repeat the little things step by step and create things and make them easier. Here's another example for you. When I was in college, not only did I take that track and field career to the next level, but I also took my brain to the next level and started thinking, yes, I want to be a professional, but yes, I want to be a speaker. And one of the things that universities have is they have pulpits, they have stages, they have microphones, and empty classrooms everywhere. And I would take full advantage of campus. And when I was between classes, when I was going to various studies, I would step into an empty room and I would step on top of a stage behind a microphone and I would practice my craft. I would do exactly as I'm doing to you now. I would stare into a spot, remind myself that I'm looking through a camera into a human, and I would practice the cadence. I'd practice the tempo. I'd practice the volume. I'd practice the intentionality of how I communicate. And it becomes so much easier over time. So you're probably wondering, okay, I get it, John. I get it. Repeat. Yes. But what are you repeating? Repeat the positive steps. Repeat the important things. Repeat the things that get you results. Do not repeat the wasted time, the wasted activities, and the things that detract from you actually achieving your desires. For those of you who are familiar with Champion Circle and what we do, we take Napoleon Hill's Desire Statement Challenge, the same challenge that has made more millionaires than any other challenge than anything in the world. And we do it every 90 days. We set a goal, and every 90 days, we achieve those goals through the power of accountability, masterminding, and working with others. This is how we process here in Champion Circle. And as you repeat that process, you will get better and better and better at it. Let me talk about that power of repetition, because what we do is we write our goals out in something called a 90-day sprint goal, or Napoleon Hill's desire statement. And in these desire statements, we repeat them out loud twice each day. And when we do this, it becomes easier. We remember it. It's top of mind. We are literally training ourselves to believe and speak our desires into the existing form, the physical form, so that it is already in our possession by the time we are fulfilled. Now, number 2 out of the 3 steps to turning success on autopilot is the power of positive communication and self-talk. Now, this might sound silly, but I just talked about repetition makes things easier. Duh. All right. But because you repeat the 90-day sprint goal, or your desires or your aspirations or your goals or your dreams on a daily basis anyways, why not try some positive self-talk? I literally I want you to try this sometime, because this is a great step to help you practice this. But I literally will take notes of negative self-talk that I share with myself. When I say, oh man, come on, John, that was dumb, I will literally take that. I will write that down on a sticky note or a piece of paper. And then once I have written it down, I will rip it out, crumble it up, and I will make it this ritual that I throw it away. And I'll say goodbye, sayonara, sucker. That thing is gone. Because the more I practice eliminating negative self-talk, the more positive I become. It sounds so silly. It sounds so simple. I'm literally just writing down negative things that I'm aware that are coming out of my mouth or seeping into my subconscious brain. And I make sure that I recognize that that's something that I just thought of. And rather than feeling ashamed, or rather than feeling bad that I thought that, rather than dwelling on it, I write it down, rip it out, crumble it up, boom, Kobe 3 in the trash can, out of my life forever. This is how I take care of negative self-talk. But if you practice positive self-talk and repeat it through affirmations, through positive connection, through manifestations, you will find yourself speaking and saying things in a much more confident and presentational way. And I love that about self-talk. And then last on that is, once you have eliminated those negative self-talks, you will become a more powerful person. That will put success on autopilot, because you're not thinking negative, but you're thinking and growing rich, which is exactly what Mr. Napoleon taught us. Now, the last and third and final thing I want to share with you tonight, from the 3 powerful steps to turning success on autopilot through autosuggestion, is to take immediate action. Just do it. When you have positive ideas, thoughts, Napoleon Hill said, never leave unfinished thoughts in the mind, but rather be definite in everything that you do. Be definite. It's absolute. Be positive, be conscious, be everything. Don't leave unfinished thoughts in the mind. So take immediate action on things. You are an incredible being. You have thoughts, you have dreams, you have aspirations, you have incredible things that need to be accomplished. And because they're yours, and we need you to accomplish them. So following these 3 steps, including taking immediate action. Some people will say it's a prompting. Some people will say it's my gut feeling. I'll tell you, I call it intuition. And intuitive leaders are absolutely incredible people. They stand out. They make differences in the world, but you need to learn to take immediate action. Here's a cool quote for you. Be on the alert for the plans that your subconscious mind will hand over to you. And when they appear, put them into action immediately. You literally need to follow your intuitions. Trust your gut, some would say. Instincts have kept us alive for centuries, okay? Your instincts are part of who you are. It is built from the soul. It is inside you. So I invite you and encourage you to take these 3 important principles and learn to put them in your life so that auto-suggestion becomes self-suggestion, and those suggestions become reality for yourself. Therefore, self-thought, self-suggestion is exactly you putting into existence what it is that you want. I want you to consider several things. Number 1, here's some evaluation questions as you take these principles into your thoughts and in your mind. Number 1 is commit again to achieving your goal, whether it's a 90-day sprint goal with us here at Champion Circle, or if it's a goal that you set for yourself, or if it's on your dream board, or if it's on your list. Okay, make sure that you commit again to achieving your goal today. If you've already fallen off the wagon, if you've fallen short, or if you haven't even thought about your goal today, commit today again to doing so, and you will find absolute incredible success. Be honest with yourself, though, and your efforts. What did you lack in the first 60 days of achieving your 90-day goal, and how can you work towards achieving those goals or improving them? How can you improve? Here's another thought for you, and I'll wrap up with this. Commit again to repeating out loud 2 to 3 times each day your desire statement, your goal, your 90-day sprint goal, X, Y, and Z. Those things are so important. Next, commit again to repeating this program night and morning until you can see in your imagination, just like I did with my race, okay? Just like I did with my races in track and field. Being able to imagine it, close your eyes and see the finished product. But the money you intend to accumulate, the goal in which you intend to achieve, all of that will become so real, so fast that you won't even be able to accept it at the rate you imagined it, because it's there in the physical presence. And then last, I'd like to invite you to commit again, to place a written copy of your goals, of your desire statement, where you can see it night and day, and read it out loud just before retiring, upon rising, until it's really been memorized. I shared intimately with my team recently that I achieved my goal faster than I expected, but in a different way than I thought I was intending for it to come. To be honest, my goal was to make $25,000 in 90 days, and I did it in 4 days. But the money wasn't in my bank account. The money was somewhere else. I did the work to accumulate what I wanted, but I wasn't specific enough to make that $25,000 in my bank account. So I get to do it again, and I get to be more specific. And I recognized in me the power of what I had just achieved, and how repeatable, how recyclable, how achievable it was in such a short amount of time. And I passed that confidence on to you. Literally, if you're watching this now, I'm passing the baton. There's another track and field reference to you. I want you to take this baton of confidence. Take it with me. Take it from me right now. There you go. Reach out, grab that screen. take the baton. I pass it to you. It's yours to take. It's your dream to make. Make it a good one. Be yourself and take advantage of the power that auto-suggestion can translate into the existence of your dreams and the reality of its presence in your life. I'm Jon Kovach Jr. This is a presentation on auto-suggestion. I want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I really appreciate that. I hope you learned something and took lots of notes. As you prepare to read, listen, and learn from the next few speakers, I invite you to take out your notes, to write things down, and to recommit. All right, the next speaker on our agenda tonight is Mr. Ian Stermer. Mr. Ian Stermer is on the executive team here. He is an incredible motivator. He has so much experience and success with customers and helping people. He is defined as a human being who has mastered how to win friends and influence people, that concept from Dale Carnegie, and he's an invaluable member of our team here at Champion Circle. I'd like to introduce him and bring him to the stage where he'll be sharing his thoughts on the powers of auto-suggestion.
A while ago, I was driving down the road, and I got this sudden craving for a Big Mac. Now, McDonald's isn't my favorite. Their fries are pretty good now and then, but I just had that craving for a Big Mac. And while I was driving, my mind was wandering, thinking about different things, places I had to go. But suddenly that idea of a Big Mac popped in my mind. Now, I think where that came from was a billboard that I had passed with a big picture of a Big Mac, fries, cold drink up there, bigger than life, looking just great. And although I didn't really pay attention to the sign when I went by, part of my brain saw that and registered that that looked good. And probably I was a little bit hungry, and made me think that McDonald's was the place I wanted to go. Yes, we're talking about that really important, powerful part of our brain called the subconscious. Now, subconscious is something we can learn to control and use to our advantage. In Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, the third step to riches is auto-suggestion. She calls the medium for influencing the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind is going to tell us things, encourage us to do things, teach us that things can or can't be done. And it's going to continue to do that based on the information that's given to it. Now, we can either give it information ourselves, or we can take information from things around us. I took information from that McDonald's billboard. Without thinking about it, I thought McDonald's would taste good right now. Well, they may or may not have, but that's less important than the fact is that my brain told me it would be good. If we're not going to take control of our own subconscious and teach our subconscious the things we want it to help us with, we're going to be at the mercy of the influences around us. We're going to look at magazines that teach us that we should be beautiful and stylish. We're going to watch TV shows or movies that teach us that people should be beautiful, that we're not living up to the image portrayed, that we should have, that we should think everyone should have, if we're not taking the time to consciously teach our subconscious. Now, on the worst side of that, we see throughout history propaganda, where governments or organizations, maybe even advertising today, teaches us over and over again through subtle or sometimes not so subtle messages what our mind is supposed to think. And our mind will automatically begin to think those things. For decades, people thought smoking a cigarette looked cool, looked sophisticated, made you macho or sexy. As things have turned around and we see the anti-smoking campaigns and the health campaigns and talking about it, when I was a teenager, I probably did think that smoking made you look cool. Now I see someone smoking, and no offense to anyone out there who does smoke, but you should quit. I immediately think you look pretty dumb if you're smoking. My subconscious has taught me that because of what I've seen, what I've been influenced by consciously and unconsciously through the media and advertisements and knowledge I've gained. Now, George Orwell, in his incredible book 1984, talked about the ministry of truth. And the ministry of truth had 3 sayings written on it. Peace is war, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. Now, those are the examples they use of what they call doublespeak, or things which contradict themselves. But if you look into those, you can justify what each of those mean. War is peace. Well, sometimes you need to fight a war to maintain peace, to gain peace, to stop a greater evil. World War II would be an example. To stop the atrocities that were being committed by the Nazi German and the Imperial Japanese specifically, required people to sacrifice and go to war to create a peace. There's a reason behind that. In George Orwell's Ministry of Truth, that was not so much the reason as it was to brainwash the people that these things were true. Throughout 1984, Orwell talks about this doublespeak, and this really brainwashing is kind of the term that he uses, that the government continually teaches, preaches, encourages, and enforces a certain way of thinking. And by doing that enough, we begin to think that. We begin to believe the things that we're being told. We stop questioning some of those things. Now, that of course is bad. That's evil, that's terrible. We need to be aware of what's going on. We need to be able to stop that kind of doublethink in our own brains. And as we're coming up on an election year, I encourage all of you to do that as well with our own political parties, if you're in the United States or whichever country you happen to be in, to consciously think about these things. Don't allow your subconscious to absorb this information, these ideologies, these thoughts, and just accept them as truth, no matter what. Now, the flip side of that is the same as you can teach your subconscious not to accept the bad things. You can teach your subconscious to accept the good things. You can use it to build the appropriate habits. Now, habits are wonderful because once you've developed a good habit, you don't need to think about it anymore. You don't need to, say, make your bed. If you get in the habit of making your bed every day, you don't have to stop and think, do I need to make my bed? You just do it. And life is easier, and I'm lazy, and I like an easy life whenever I can get it. I get in the habit of driving someplace, and my subconscious mind tells me that I am going to my office. And I get to my office, and I pull in the parking lot, and I stop and say, I was going to the grocery store. Why am I at my office? I don't know if you've done that as well. Your subconscious teaches you those things, unless you take control of it. So the big question here is, how do you take control of your subconscious? Well, Napoleon Hill teaches us in Think and Grow Rich the power of auto-suggestion. The same as if someone tells us, you are beautiful every day, we'll think that we're beautiful. As a child, I should say as an infant, when I was born, I was in a loving family. They called me Ian. And I accepted that that's what my name was. I accepted that only because I was told it over and over again, so I believed it. And I began to have a strong belief and a knowledge that that's what it was, because it was taught to me over and over and over again. Now, if we want to have positive habits, Think and Grow Rich talks about growing rich, how to get money. Now, of course, money, first of all, is not important in and of itself. Money is simply there to help, to give opportunities, to give choices. But it does give those choices. It allows us to have freedoms. So if we want to gain that freedom, we want to gain that money, we need to teach ourselves that we can do it. And auto-suggestion, by saying it over and over again, repeating daily affirmations, writing down goals and repeating them several times a day, teaches our mind that this is what is correct and true. And we can teach our subconscious through this auto-suggestion to believe these things, to take away some of those doubts that we have. Now, the difference between propaganda and autosuggestion: propaganda is an evil created by someone else to make you do what they want you to do. Autosuggestion is you teaching yourself what you want to do, what you can do, what you can achieve, and then giving you the tools you need to go out and achieve it. And those tools start with your belief that it can be done. So I encourage you to pick up a copy of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Read through autosuggestion, and at the very end of that chapter, he says, read through this chapter every day until you believe it. Create that autosuggestion in your mind.
All right, I want to say thank you to Mr. Ian Stermer. That was awesome. Ian, thank you so much for your presentation and your awesome words. Your mentorship means a lot, but your opinions and your thoughts on this concept deepen my knowledge that I've learned here from Think and Grow Rich. So thank you for sharing. Next on the agenda tonight, we are going to hear from Mr. William Blake. And I have the pleasure of introducing these members. Not only are they members of my team and are actively helping me grow and build this business, but these are people that I have entrusted and I've really taken under the wing of mentorship, but I've grown my own learning and my own understanding while working with these incredible people. William Blake is a rising public speaker. He's an incredible coach. He's intentional about his words. He's a great listener, and he's somebody who can move mountains just by listening and by helping you understand that he cares and that he's got solutions for you. And when you break them down and bite size them, he's got a plan and it'll make you make it happen. Everybody, I'm going to pass the mic over to Mr. William Blake, who's going to teach you about a few things tonight, going from novice to master through the competence and auto suggestion. William Blake, the floor is yours. I appreciate you. Hoorah, you are awesome. Can't wait to learn from you.
How many times have you approached a new skill thinking it would be a breeze, only to find yourself stumbling in the process? I can tell you that has happened so many times. Let me share with you the first day I was at Walmart. I got there. It was after 3 months of remodel. They liked me so much that they hired me on. Woohoo, go me. Showed up the first day, walked in the back, slid that card down, looked around, and had no clue where to go. It was 4 a.m. Not many employees were there, and I had no clue where I was supposed to be because I was in the fresh department, and that's so many different spots in Walmart, and I didn't know where I could find my boss. One thing I learned during orientation was that I needed to do some trainings. So I walked over to the computer room, sat down, and started trainings. Luckily enough, 15 minutes later, my boss came in, introduced himself. We walked over to the produce department, which was where I was working at, and he started to fire hose information into me. Any of you who have ever had a job, who have tried to start a business or tried to start a new skill, you know that when you first start, it is a fire hose of information. And especially at like a 9 to 5, where they are trying to train you as quick as they can so that you can get on the floor and do what you need to do. The first day, I remember going to my car after trying to do everything they wanted me to do, sitting there thinking, I don't know if I can do this. Which is funny because I was of that mentality that I'm sure a lot of people are, of Walmart is an easy place to work at. It's that place that you go if you can't get another job. Well, I'll tell you this, that was one of the hardest things to do. And it was simply because I didn't know what I didn't know. And as I continued down the next couple months, I started to realize how much there was to learn, which then brought me to being able to apply it and get more skill, which then led me to being able to do it unconsciously, being able to do it without thinking about it and adding more skills and benefits onto that. And I want to talk to you today about that. There's this principle called the 4 levels, or the 4 levels of hierarchy with competence. We have unconscious competence, unconscious incompetence, then we have conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and then unconscious incompetence. And saying those just triggered my dyslexia hardcore. I'll tell you that. To give you a definition, unconscious means unaware. Conscious means aware. Incompetence means the ability to not do it. Competence means you can do it, right? So when we start off with level one, just starting to do things, unconscious incompetence, it is being unaware and not being able to do it, right? We're breaking it down. We're having it make sense. When you're on that level, that's when you're just starting something new. That's where you don't know what you don't know. Think about when you try a new sport. There's this really famous game out there that I only tried about, I think, a couple months ago with my cousins. It's called handball, I believe. It's where you have that yellow ball about yay size, and there's the circle mini trampoline, and it's you and your partner versus two other people. And basically, it's volleyball, but with a tramp and a smaller ball. And I'll tell you what, I jumped in that and I sucked. I failed so bad. They were setting me up, which I had no clue what the term was back then, setting me up, and I would just like whack it and it would hit the ground. Or I'd think I was so good, so meta, I would slam it down and it would fly off in a direction that didn't hit the tramp at all. Lose the point. But I didn't know what I didn't know. And a lot of us who are starting a new business, starting a new endeavor, starting a new skill, getting into health, learning how to communicate, being able to start a new job, a new 9 to 5, we get to that point where we just don't know what we don't know. And I'm telling you now, that is okay. Because we need to first start off with our first step in order to get our 50th one. But we want to keep going after that first step. So as we're getting fire hosed with all the information, that goes to level 2, which is conscious incompetence. This is where we are aware of what we need. We recognize the lack of skill that we have or knowledge, and that there is so much more out there that we need to learn. Think about playing a musical instrument. When you're starting and you're learning the chords, you realize there is so much more. There's how long do you hold it? There's the different notes. There's the treble and bass. I believe that's what I'm thinking of, a piano right now. There's the different types of music, how to sync it with other instruments. There's a vast majority of what you can go into simply by starting an instrument. And a lot of the times, not just with an instrument, but with everything else, we get into that realm of losing confidence in the idea, where we get into that peak of having to hit the rubber to the road and go, but losing, again, that confidence and that desire and that passion, that ignition of fire that we had inside, because we realize we don't know everything. And at the time, we feel like we don't know anything. But we keep pushing on. And I think that's why businesses after 5 years, I think it's 90 or 95% of the statistic fail in their business. I think a lot of that has to do with when they put the rubber to the road, there's so much information to get in that you really got to have a strong desire and a strong belief to get there. So after you push past that barrier, then you jump into the third level, which is conscious competence. You are aware and you are able to do. On this third level, this is where we have the skills, but we need to concentrate. I know that as I have leveled up my speaking, that when I first started to learn everything, started getting comfortable with it, I had to use a lot of brain power to consciously think of what I need to do. When I get into a room, I'd consciously think that my back needs to be straight, that my chest is out, that I'm using hand movements, that my tone in my voice is fast when I need to say things that are fast, and slow and bring it down to when you need to create something more impactful. And these are things that I continued to learn, but I had to use conscious energy to do it. after you get more experience and after you go from being that novice into trying to be the expert and the master, then you get to the fourth level, which the fourth level is the unconscious competence, where you are able to do what you need to do, but it's second nature. You perform it effortlessly. And this is the level where people like Grant Cardone and Alex Hormozy and Jay Shetty and Tony Robbins, when they talk about finding a niche, staying in that, and then after you become an expert in it and you get an audience and you're making a little money for whatever business that you have, then you can start branching out. That's the principle right there, is you learn the master in that thing, and then you start to learn more things on top of that. One of my favorite animes, I know I'm jumping into the anime realm for a second, it's called My Hero Academia, where this guy didn't have a superpower to start out with, and then he was mentored by the best. He got a superpower and then was able to learn and grow with it. As he learned and grew, he had so many stumbling blocks. He was breaking arms, he was breaking legs. Then he got comfortable and was able to do what he needed to do. After that point, where he felt like he had mastered it to a good degree, then he stacked another skill on top of that and then worked on that. And as he worked on that skill, then that one became the unconscious. And I think unconscious and subconscious can kind of be mixed here, because subconscious is that you're able to do what you need to do, but your brain is able to work it while doing something else. So while he was subconsciously being able to do those two things, then he added another skill on. And then in the anime was one of the best heroes that there was. Apply that to our life. Think about, what are you great at? And what's the skill that you are working on? Because there are many different ways you can go about this. The best way that I've found that's worked for me is what's called habit stacking. So if you're working on a habit, you want to figure out a way to make it easier for you. One thing for me was brushing my teeth. I had the hardest time brushing my teeth, and I had to go out of my way to grab my toothbrush and toothpaste, be able to do it, then go back to bed. It was just so inconvenient. But I had this desire and belief that, well, brushing my teeth is something good, which I think we can all agree with, right? So as I thought more about it, I thought, what can I do to habit stack, which is placing the habit I want with a habit that's already there. And I thought, I use the bathroom before I go to bed. So why not go take my toothbrush, put toothpaste on it, shove it in my mouth, and then it just be in there, use the bathroom. Then afterwards, my toothbrush is already in there. So why not just brush my teeth? And that's what I did to get a daily, repetitive consistentness with brushing my teeth. Now, this can apply to anything, but I want you to think about it. Think about, what is a habit that you are wanting to get? Is it with health? Is it with mentality? Is it communicating and being social? Is it spiritual, financial? What is it for you? Whatever that is, I want you to start thinking of ideas. Be a little creative. Don't shut anything down, because when we shut things down, our minds take that as, oh, we don't trust ourselves, and that creativeness goes down. But just continue to spew out things that are working, ideas that are coming, and come up with, what is something you can do that can take that habit that you want and put it to a habit that you already have. Because I can tell you this, that as you go from being a novice, which is, not knowing what you don't know, just starting out, to being the master, being the one where people look at you, people who know you, they're like, that person is known for this. And the distance between is trying. So first thing is coming up with that plan, to be able to coming up with that idea of what you can do to habit stack, making it easier for you. And then creating the filling in that distance to then get to where you need to go. And that distance is to try. From that unconscious incompetence, we're just like, we don't know what's going on. But just like me in Walmart, I couldn't just not do my job. I could quit, but who wants to be a quitter? Went from getting that fire hose of knowledge to then being able to put the salads out, put the veggies and the apples and the other fruit out, to then being like, I recognize these are the patterns that are going on. This is how I do it. This is how I unload the pallet. To then being able to lead the floor. So if other people from other departments come in, I'm able to lead them and help them. Right? So what is that for you? So there are many challenges that I said in there. So I challenge you, for one, to do that, of being able to think of an idea to take a habit that you want to mix it with a habit that you already have. And the other one I want you to do is I want you to create a daily reminder, a daily affirmation, if it be, to keep it in front of head awareness, I believe is what the phrase is, so that every single day you are seeing a goal or a habit that you want. One thing that I love that I do is on my lock screen. Coolest thing, I didn't know they could do that. You can put a video on your lock screen. So I went to Canva, put a nice ocean background in a sunset, and put my favorite quote about making decisions and never leaving unfinished thoughts in the mind. And every single time I unlock my phone, which is multiple times a day, I am reminded that I need to be definite in my decisions and to continue to move forward. So as I finish off this topic about novice to master, let me leave you with a quote. The novice is not the master. I know I'm going to screw this up. The novice is not the master because he hasn't. I know I'm going to mess it up. Whatever the quote is. Basically, the master has tried more than the novice has failed. So the master is always going out, and I hope I didn't switch those. The master is continually going out and trying and failing. The novice is just might fail once, fail twice, and they stop. But if they keep going, they get to the master level. So do something in your life that brings that frontal awareness to the front of your mind. Put it on your lock screen like I do. Put a Post-it note up right next to your bed or on the fridge. I know I've done that. I love food, so I put it there. Do something to keep it in front of your mind. And then whatever that habit is, take it and put it to a habit that you already have. And as you do so, you start to get into that autopilot mode, that auto repetition, the consistent and the action that you need to move forward. So I appreciate just having the time to do this and go out and be the hero in your own life. And always remember that the master is the master because the master has tried more, because the master has failed more than the novice has tried. So go out, try, and do.
I want to just say thank you to William Blake for sharing that incredible knowledge. And I love that perspective and take on the powers of autosuggestion and repetition. That was really, really helpful and impactful for me as I'm taking notes and learning from our guest speakers tonight. I just want you to know how impactful the message you left with us. And I love that quote. And I love that you had to work through it to make it make sense. And again, I just did a quick Google search to support you on it. But yeah, the master has failed more times than the novice even tried. And I think that that's a beautiful sentiment to overcoming challenges, to recognizing the journey and saying to ourselves, wow, like we get to fail and we get to fail fast and fail forward. And I love that. Give it up for Mr. William Blake. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Willie. We love you. That was awesome. And last but not least, really awesome, we have one more speaker on tonight's training, and I want to introduce Miss Lauren Cobb, who's going to grace us with her topic of overcoming mental health struggles through autosuggestion. And this is an incredible hot topic. I look forward to learning more. Lauren Cobb is not only an entrepreneur, but a business owner. Her family owns their own website development and building company. They're amazing in what they do. They've serviced and helped so many professionals and companies all over the country and over the world. But more importantly to me is her dedication to overcoming her own limiting beliefs and focusing on her growth as an individual, thinking and growing rich. She's one of the executive members of our Champion Circle team. She's a thought leader in the space of helpful connection. And also she helps teach and uses the powers of communication through social media and other realms of online platforms to gain and receive income through the powers of attraction, through messaging, marketing, and so many other cool tactics and strategies. She's got a lot of skills under her belt. And so we're going to open the floor to learning from Miss Lauren Cobb tonight as I bring her on the spotlight. We want to welcome her to our stage and say, Lauren, teach us, help us understand the powers of autosuggestion and the benefits of its blessings to those who seek to overcome some of the most internal challenges. The floor is yours. And you are muted. Try one more time. You got this.
Thank you. To begin, I want to take you guys on a little memory lane with me for a moment. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. Can you guys all see my screen? Awesome. Okay. So here is 16-year-old Lauren. Not a care in the world, not a problem. I mean, my life wasn't perfect, but it really was not bad at all. I was a determined, pretty confident kid and teenager. I was given an awesome opportunity to learn a lot of these principles by Think and Grow Rich at a very young age. And it benefited me very well. I was able to travel. So here are some pictures of myself and some of my buddies and archaeologists. I was able to participate in excavating in Israel and tour Egypt and Jordan as well for study abroad. Here's some of us in Egypt, and here's me at my graduation. I actually graduated high school at 15. I took it upon myself to graduate, and then I spent my time traveling for the rest of high school. And I was able to do that because of these skills that I gained learning young. So life was pretty easy. Really not much going on. I met my husband when, I'm going to go back to my screen share. Apologize. I met my husband when I was on my third study abroad. And here we are, our wedding, our engagement, just no cares in the world. I was known for my bubbly personality, my excitement, and optimism. I was oftentimes not made fun of, but people called me boy crazy and a flirt because I made it a point to be able to find something good in every boy. Because as teenage girls, there's a lot of gossip and things like that, and who is good looking and who's not. And I made it a point to be able to find something good in every boy. So naturally, I socialized with them, and then people would ask me different things, and I could tell them one good thing about every boy. And this got me known as a major flirt. But anyway, I was outgoing, I was bubbly. So we get married and life was just grand. Then comes motherhood. Our first baby was a breeze, in a sense. Usual things you would expect with pregnancy, easy delivery, a little early, but easy. Motherhood was an adjustment for sure, but it was a breeze. Life went back to normal pretty fast. Ty and I traveled. We were able to go do fun things, camping, all the normal things we wanted to do with our one baby. It was great. 3 years down the road, we unintentionally we weren't trying to have more kids, but we had 2 miscarriages. And even through those, I was able to stay in a good place mentally. I eventually was pregnant, and that pregnancy was hard. Our second baby I carried to term, and that was physically hard. I was sick all the time. I could not care for our 3-year-old daughter on my own, but thankfully I had friends and a husband who were able to be there. We made it through. She was 8 pounds, 4 ounces, and recovery went on. My body struggled though. I was not the same at all, which a lot of people experience. Our baby was hard. She was not sleeping. She wasn't gaining weight. She was just hard. And it made it very hard on me. My husband was in his last year of college, and my mom had moved farther away, and life was just busier. And I was on my own more with the kids, and it was hard. Thankfully, we got through that. She grew, we figured out what was wrong, and she was a thriving toddler who is curious and adventurous. And here she is, our second. So out of nowhere, we were expecting baby number 3. I was in denial. I was shocked. We weren't trying again. Our second was only a year and a half old, and this pregnancy was very different. I was sick within days of conception, basically, which can be pretty rare. My doctors knew that I had been sick my second pregnancy, and they were not shocked. This was not shared with me before because there's always a chance that things will not be the same, right? So this pregnancy, I was sick right away, extreme morning sickness, which resulted in multiple trips to the ER just because I couldn't keep anything down. My doctor was really worried because I was dehydrated, and ultimately it ended up, I was diagnosed with hyperemesis gravidarum, extreme morning sickness, and dehydration comes along with it. And because of that dehydration, it's very serious. You wouldn't think so, but it was a wake-up call for me. And it was hours a day of nausea and vomiting. And so by week 6, they finally put me on home health. I had an IV in my knuckle because they could not get an IV into any other vein in my body. It was rough. So for the first couple of weeks, really, I was hooked up to my IV pole for 7 hours a day. It was hard. Like, I thought it was hard then. And it was. But thankfully, I had people there from the neighborhood who came to help and things like that. When it became evident that this was not going to go away quickly, my sister offered for my girls and I, to come move up with her. She had 4 kids of her own, and she offered to take us on while I was on my IVs so that I could get the proper care that I needed, and my kids would get the proper care. It was an hour away from where we lived, and so my husband stayed home to work, and he would come up on the weekends. And I'm so grateful for my sister, like, honestly, eternally grateful. What she did is not easy. I don't know that I could return the same favor. While I had all these blessings in my life, I also was so not healthy in my mind. I slipped into a very dark place that I had never been before, and honestly didn't recognize at first. I know people would make comments You know, even my own mom, she would say to my sisters, like, Lauren's just different. She's more mean, you know, like she doesn't have patience, things like that. And I'd just be like, well, duh, I'm so sick, you know, like I feel crappy. And it was just dark. My thoughts were sad and angry. I was always questioning why. Why do I have to have this sickness? Why is my baby not growing? It was just all these whys, because every week it felt like something new. So the pregnancy was over. She came. She ended up in the NICU, and life was still hard. And she got better, you know, 12 days in the NICU, we got home and things like that. And I just kind of expected life to be back. And it wasn't. And I tried for 2 years to get myself to be back, right? I just thought eventually it would happen, you know, things like that. And finally, I knew I wasn't going to get there on my own, and it was hard. I sought some help, and I'll never forget the day that I sat and wrote down everything from my head onto paper. It was eye-opening, even for myself. And I had honestly never shared any of that with my husband either. So when he heard these things, he didn't even hear these things until we were sitting in the doctor's office. And I handed the paper to my doctor, like, here you go. I don't even want to say it out loud. And he read through it out loud. And it was shocked, because even he had known me for years, since our oldest child was born. We met him in the hospital and kept him as a doctor. And he just looked at me, you know, like I was really good at masking, as they say, just trying to be that person I normally was. But I had lost myself. I didn't know what was up and down. And it was sad and lonely. Thankfully, I sought that help, and medications started to help things get better. But it was better in a sense that I could manage through my day. And, you know, we made it through those times. And thankfully, one day, so my husband and I had been talking about starting our own business, and we had some friends who were doing the same. And she said, you've got to come with me. You've got to come and, you know, come with me to these networking events, meet some awesome people. I think you'll really enjoy it. So I said no a few times, just because my confidence was not there. I was like, I'm not ready to go meet people. You know, I don't want to, you know, I don't even know what to say to people right now. Thankfully, she pulled me out eventually, and it was the greatest thing. I ended up meeting some great mentors, and which led to some awesome classes I was able to take. And one night I was sitting there, and we were going over mental blocks, and why are we not achieving our goals? Why is our business not where we wanted it to be, right? And I came up with everything I could think of, you know, like it, you know, business, or we need people, we need clients, we need this, we need that. And finally, the guy sat down and he looked at me and he said, what do you have to bring to the table? And I was like, what? Like, I don't know. I don't do graphic and design and build websites like my husband, you know, like I'm going to do the office work. He's like, okay, but what value do you have? And I just sat there. He's like, okay, think about it and come back next week. And I want to know what value you're going to bring to the table. And so I went home, thought about it. I didn't know still. So next week he says, okay, what value do you have? And I still couldn't answer him. And he finally said, you have to find your value. What is inside you? You have it. You have to find it and utilize it in order to move forward. Because your husband can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. If this is the way you're projecting your business, then you have to bring your value to the table. I had skills I was bringing to the table, and that's all I thought I needed, right? Like I knew how to do bookkeeping. I knew how to do all those things. But my value, I was putting into my skills. And it wasn't possible to move forward. And I learned that. I hadn't thought of it before. So along that, I came across Champion Circle, right? And it was amazing meeting these people. I just have to read it from my notes because it's what came to my mind. I said, their energy was addicting and healing. And going through the principles and learning these things, it totally changed my trajectory. Not just learning them, but applying them in my life. I'm just as eternally grateful for these people and for Think and Grow Rich to be able to get me to a place where I was healthy again. So using auto-suggestion, I was able to rewire my thoughts and ultimately my actions. Every day I sat and thought about what I pictured myself doing and enjoying life, being outside with my girls, doing fun things, specifically alone with them. That sounds weird, but my anxieties were so bad through those toddler years that I hardly left the house by myself, except for doctor's appointments. And I usually would meet my mom or sister there to help me with the kids. But just going out on a walk with them was too overwhelming for me. So I sat there and pictured what it was going to be like going and enjoying these things again and not having to have so much control on every little situation. I would picture in my head the situations and events that I was going to be in and go to, how happy my girls were going to be able to go do these things. And it felt amazing. It was freeing and healing. Using faith, desire, and ultimately auto-suggestion, I was able to pull myself out of the pit I had been in for 4 years plus. And by that time, I'm now able to recognize when it hits and what to do. Because it doesn't always go away forever, right? But I was able to figure out how to utilize envisioning and auto-suggestion, how to train and feed my brain correctly to be able to pull myself out of those dark times. And it's amazing. And so I know that's a heavy topic to share, but I felt like it was really needed. It's doable, and you're not alone. You're not the only person going through it. I wasn't the only person going through it, but I felt like I was. And I just needed that reminder of my value and what I bring to the table. And I needed to be feeding my mind the correct things, because sitting in my pity did no good for me. So as Napoleon Hill teaches, he says, autosuggestion is the agency of control. We get to choose what we feed the gardens of our minds. So our mind is a garden. And this made me think back to when I was 7, 8 years old. I worked in a greenhouse with my grandma, my great aunt, all these old ladies. It was such a fun place. And me and a few of my cousins and my brother were able to go, and we would help with the real physical parts of working in the greenhouse. She was very successful, family-run business. So this process, there's a specific process for each kind of plant. Some we would start seeding under a heat lamp. They needed that constant heat, and they weren't usually in very much soil. It'd be just a little bit, and we would start the seedlings. Others we planted straight into the bigger pots. They were called flats. And they didn't need that extra light to get their head start. So the main process was we would fill the flats. They were about 2 feet long. We'd fill the flats with dirt, and then we'd stack them. We'd get our source, all of the flats ready for the day. Second, we would water them very well. And you didn't water them till right before you were going to use them. So we had the big hose, and we'd water the tops of them and everything, and kind of just get the dust down on them. So third, we would bring them up to the planning table, and that's where the old ladies were, and eventually we graduated to be able to help. And we would put them on the tables, and they had special sticks, chopsticks like thing that they would plant them in, and it's very delicately done. And then when they were done with that, we would take them over to the soaker. And this, we take the whole flat, and it was a big, long pan-like thing tub filled with water, and you soaked them. And it sucked it up from the bottom. So the whole thing was just soggy, heavy, wet. They about tripled in size or in weight by the time you went to pick it up from there. And then we would pick it up, let it drain a second, and take it to where it sat in the greenhouse. So this process we repeated day after day, and it was very specific. Now we take that process, and how do we feed the minds of our garden of our minds? It matters. And it matters how we do it, as we've learned so far with these steps through Think and Grow Rich. During those hard times in my pregnancy, I let the pity thoughts consume me and spiral to the point that I didn't know how to change them. I didn't know the next step to do. Some of the things I learned are, first, turning my focus to the positive things about myself that were already inside of me. That was the first step. I had to feel like I had the value, or know that I had the value to learn and to grow, and that these things were possible. Second, I filled my mind and soul with positive people and media. So part of the media is the books and listening to great things. I started listening to books on audio and things like that, but filling my surrounding and my being with these good things. And third, I planted the seeds of hope, goals, and action steps to reach those goals. And fourth, I didn't stop. I continue to use these steps even today to reach my goals and to maintain my positive mentality. We don't always get to choose what happens to us, but we do get to choose on how we respond. And by filling our minds and the gardens of our minds with positive and knowledge, we're able to access it quicker and not get stuck on these little things. So as of late, my goals have been getting healthy. That has included losing some weight. I got to the point where I could picture myself in the clothes I wanted to wear. I could feel the fabric. I could, see myself in the places where I'd want to wear these awesome outfits. I knew that I had to do something to get there. So I took a step back and I said, okay, what do I have to do to get in those good clothes? Those awesome clothes that I wanted to wear. I imagined what it was like walking and jogging, how good my joints would feel. Because one of my lovely rewards from pregnancy is rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis. So joints in action, stay in action, and they felt good. So I literally sat there and pictured and imagined what it would feel like for my body to be moving and how good my body felt doing it, instead of focusing on, oh, that's going to be painful. It can be to start, but it feels good to get doing it. So I'd sit there and let these emotions fill me. As we've heard before, that you have to utilize all your senses in these steps. Otherwise, it's not going to soak in. Your body's not going to recognize it like it needs to get onto that auto-suggestion. I pictured as far as to getting myself up and doing these things multiple times a week, what my schedule would look like, even as far as to leaving my kids on the couch to watch cartoons in the summer so I could go out and exercise. But for my brain, I just had to have all of those steps to know how it was going to happen. And I did it. I spent all last summer walking 3 to 5 miles every day, and I am closer to my goals because of that. And it feels amazing. And I still do these things because winter hits, I hit a rut. I wasn't outside walking every day. So I've started doing these specific things again. And it's not that I just have one goal at a time that I'm doing it with. You can use this in every area of your life. Some of the other things that I've been utilizing this process in as well is reaching our financial goals, our business goals, and ultimately what we want this life to look like for us and our family. Napoleon Hill says, persistent in the application of these principles is not just giving it a try and deciding, oh, I don't want to do it. Oh, that wasn't as fast as I thought it would be. You have to be persistent because you have to truly believe it and want it to the point where no is not an option. It talks about failure is the individual's fault, not the principles. So if you're not reaching those goals like you want to, then you need to take a step back and see where the missing link is. How do you need to fix that? You want to concentrate and have like a fixation on it. You see it, you feel it. What is it going to be like when you're in possession of it? I dreamt of the days where I could be happy again when I was stuck in that depression. I dreamt of, what is it going to be like going out with my girls again and enjoying an afternoon free and having fun. I dreamt of that. So I knew when I was getting close to that goal, and I knew every step that I was going to reach that goal, the bit of hope that I'd have and feel, because I had already pictured it and I knew what it would feel like. And so that gave me the hope to keep going to actually achieve that. So nowadays, like I said, I'm using these principles to multiply our income, to achieve the dreams that are on our dream board, to go and do fun things, to set goals with my husband and support him in his goals. And I'm just gonna go back here to my screen. I love pictures, so y'all get to see that. Okay, here we go. So here's my family overcoming these things. This is us now. This picture represents hope to me because this family picture was just in December. I was able to let go of all of my expectations for other people and just be able to be in the moment with my kids. You can see in there, one of my daughters is wearing blue tights with her dress, and nobody wanted to wear the exact same thing I bought them. But I was able to just let it go and let people be. And this is like, you can tell the joy in our faces that each of us feel comfortable and happy. And this is a picture that I'll always cherish because it shows I've reached that spot. Like, I can say I'm truly happy in this pictures, and the day was wonderful with my family. My husband and I helped support him in his goal with one of his jobs, that he was able to earn an all-paid vacation to cruise Europe. And we made it happen. So here we are in Rome. We're on the Amalfi Coast. We're watching the sunset on the cruise every night. It was amazing. And eating pesto in Cinque Terre, homemade, and watching the beautiful waves hit the rocks and putting my feet in is something. Those memories are core memories for me. And really these last few years, it's hitting our goals and actually applying these steps in our lives that has helped us reach these. And I'm so excited to do it time and time again. There's hope. There's faith. Have faith in yourself. Have faith in your goals. You can do it. I can't wait to see what you do when you apply these principles. We're always here to help teach even more. If you have questions, reach out to us, talk with us, and application is key. So I challenge you to go and apply these principles in your life and see what you can achieve.
We would like to thank Lauren Cobb for the incredible inspiration and the examples of her life and story to help us turn success and achievement, but also acceptance and self-worth on autopilot. Thank you so much for sharing those awesome things. And Lauren, I'm taking away a lot of great stuff. And there's some people here who probably want to dive deeper into this concept because this is a relevant thought for so many people. And mental health is such a hot topic because it is so necessary. So thank you for speaking into that and for being a great mentor and presence on our stage.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for today. We hope you've learned a lot about auto-suggestion, the third step to riches, found in Think and Grow Rich, right here, my favorite book. Boom. And we hope that you'll apply these principles. In fact, take time right now to write down your inspirations in Champion Circle inspirational methods. We like to always ask and finish our conversations or finish our masterminds with the topic in question of what do you feel inspired to take immediate action on today, based on what you've learned, based on what you've heard, based on the things you're receiving from these incredible conversations and the wonderful teaching and discussions from these speakers. We want to ask you, based on what you've received today, what do you feel inspired to take immediate action on? Write those down, put them in a place where you'll see them, repeat them, and make sure that they become an active solution in your life. I'm Jon Kovach Jr. This has been a Champion Circle production and a training workshop virtually through our platform here to give you insights on auto-suggestion. If you would like to learn more about Champion Circle, if you'd like to have access to more of these trainings, more of these workshops, and some professional content, go to www.mychampionsircle.com. And there you'll be able to enlist in learning more about who we are, what we're doing, how to get involved, how to join, how to become a member, and how to learn for yourself so that you can take your life and business to its next level by searching and desiring to learn more through the process of Think and Grow Rich and so many other steps that have taken people beyond their limits to becoming millionaires and achieving their ultimate desires. I appreciate you. I look forward to the next time we get to work with you. And please reach out if you have any questions. You can send us an email. The email the best to reach us at is info@mychampionsircle.com. There you'll be reached out to by one of our team members who will gladly assist your needs and introduce you to some incredible things that will lead you to the solutions you most desire. Until next time, always remember, be definite in everything you do. William Blake and Jon Kovach Jr. both emphasize the importance of this quote. Be definite in everything you do and don't leave unfinished thoughts in the mind. Everything you need is already inside of you. All you need to do is take the immediate action necessary to fulfill and bring it to fruition. I'm Jon Kovach signing off. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us.